Hi guys, welcome back. We are working today on a 2004 XC90, although this applies to pretty much any Volvo and indeed a lot of other cars as well. What we are dealing with today is an ABS warning light. Now the ABS system uses a series of sensors and cogs and various other bits and bobs, I'll show you those in a second, to determine how fast each of the wheels is turning. So it knows how fast each wheel is going. If any of them are going faster than the others, that's a cause for action. Either it's going to gradually apply the brakes or divert power to another wheel if you've got an all-wheel drive system. But bottom line, anything that involves an incorrect reading of speed coming from one of your wheels is a big problem. This warning light down here, the ABS light, always comes on when you switch your ignition on, but should go out unless you've got a problem, and any other diagnostic messages that you get in your information window will tell you what's going on. Don't mess around with this. If you get that warning light, don't ignore it, deal with it straight away. Now there are two things to check here. One is that the rings that actually are recorded by the sensor, that are measured by the sensor, they're called the ABS tone rings, could be broken, could be rusted, could be full of crap, whatever it's going to be. We'll have a look at those in a sec. I'll show you how to easily access them in order to assess whether they are the problem. Failing that, the sensor itself is pretty cheap and easy to get hold of and takes about 5 minutes to change over. So let's have a look. I'm just going to pop this car up onto some axle stands for reasons that will become clear in a moment, and let's get underneath it and have a look at the rings. Okay, so I've got the car up on axle stands. Both wheels can move. That's an important detail because we're going to use the front differential here to help us out. Now you can see the corrugated cover there around the end of the drive shaft, and just past that you can see this ring here with these ridges on it. And the nice thing about these is that if you've got both sides up in the air, you can turn one wheel and the other wheel will just turn in the opposite direction. So by doing this, you can kind of look at the ABS tone ring all around and just see if it's cracked, if it's split, if there's any contaminants in there, if there's any dirt. And in this case, having gone all the way around, I can see that there isn't. So I'm quite happy in this instance that it's not rusted out or cracked or split. The tone ring does not appear, at least at first glance, to be the problem, which points very much in the direction of the sensor. Now I know it's this wheel because I plugged a diagnostic computer into it and it told me that there's a continuous system fault reading from the sensor on this corner, but it could just as easily be that the sensor is not reading anything, particularly if this tone ring here has become damaged, and I've even seen them in the past where they've rusted into multiple pieces and fallen off. So there you go, that is one possibility. I think we can rule that out in this case. So let's get the wheel off and have a look at the sensor. Okay, so we've had a look at the ABS tone ring from the other side. We're now going to have a look at the sensor itself. Okay, and the sensor is this here. As you can see, it's held in only by one bolt, one 10mm bolt. So what we're going to do is we're going to just loosen that off. It's not going to be massively tight. In fact, I'm just going to break that with the breaker bar and then twist this out by hand. Now keep the bolt in a safe place. Going to need that to refit it, and you don't get a spare one of those with the sensor. And this is the sensor. Now oftentimes you will see if the ABS tone ring has kind of rusted around the inside, so the hub at the end of the drive shaft rather has rusted and expanded out, that can sometimes crack the ring. Now that pushes the ABS tone ring into the surface here, so you can sometimes see scoring on the end. In this case, that's not happened. Now these things don't last forever, they're exposed to some pretty horrible elements out on the road, so you know they do have a shelf life and they do eventually fail. I'm going to replace this one. They're about 35 quid, something like that, to replace, so not the most expensive component in the world. Oh, this one's got a spider's nest in it. But all we have to do to replace this is unclip the wire, and I'll show you under the hood there where this plugs in at the other end, and you just need to be very careful when you put the new one in that it follows the same path as the old one coming out. Now down here in the wheel arch we have two clips to contend with. I'll show you those now. This is the first one, and you kind of roll these out. It's a rubber bung, and there is another one of those up here. Again, just kind of roll this out. Okay. And now, being extremely careful to follow the same run, I'm actually going to feed the new sensor wire through before removing this old one, so I can see how it trails down through the engine bay there. Okay, so here we are under the bonnet. The sensor itself clips in to this. This top one is the near side sensor, well, left hand side, near side in the UK anyway. And to get these out, you press in on the end there and the thing just pops out. Nice and easy to get that out. But as I say, I want to feed the new cable down through that corner, following the wire down, just to make sure I've got the routing correct. So I'll just pop that corrector there. So I'll just pop that back in for now. Right, take your time doing this. I'm not going to try and show you it routing down, but with this one in place, you'll be able to see where it goes, and you just want to make sure that you've not got it draped over any pipes that get hot or anything like that. It is protected with a corrugated sleeve, but even so. Here's the new sensor. Same clip, same sensor at the end. They are handed. Of course, the near side and off side have different length cables, so important to get these right. Okay, so you can see down here, just need to fish that through the right channel. It comes through here. Really useful having the old one still in place for this. And then we've just got those two rubber grommets to stick back in place. Okay, so let's go and plug it in at the top. Back under the bonnet here. Pull that out. Let that drop down. And pop the new one in. Make sure it clicks in place. Might have to press it quite hard to get it to locate. If these things can pop back out, then they might just work loose, and that could give you a DUF sensor reading anyway, so you might be changing a sensor unnecessarily. Definitely worth checking, in fact, that this joint doesn't have any corrosion in it before you invest in a new sensor. Now, of course, since we've got this routed now, we can take the old sensor out. That just falls straight down, and it's got a connector on the end of it, so it might get snagged on the route. This one has. I'll just finagle that out. There we go. Okay, so that's the old sensor away. Okay, we've just got this grommet in the top here to fit in. And these things just squish back in. You might need to roll them, same as getting them out. Really clever design, but a real pain. Just fiddly. bit of silicone grease would probably have helped this process, but never mind. Done. So that's that one. The other one is down here. Nice new sensor. I'll just pop that in the hole for now and secure it in a second. As that's going in, it can hold the bolt. If we look down through the hole here, you can see the other end of the ABS tone ring. So the sensor just goes in that hole there, locates with the 10mm socket. Don't know if there is even a torque setting for this one. I imagine there probably isn't. It's finger tight, basically. It doesn't have to do a lot of work. I am just going to nip that up just a tiny little bit. Okay, so that's the sensor replaced. Just one last finishing touch before we put the wheel back on, and that's this other clip wire here. And this is kind of what I mean by rolling them in. So if we, you see here, I'm twisting it, positioning it on the bottom, kind of squishing the top as it goes in. Yeah, there you go, nice and easy. So a bit fiddly the first few times, especially if you're doing it backhand like this one up here, but you'll get there in the end. And that's it, that's the ABS sensor replaced, plugged into the top, and hopefully when I reset the trouble code, that'll be the end of the issue. Okay, moment of truth. That warning light there should go out when I switch the engine on. Happy days. Now, that's not necessarily the end of the picture. In some circumstances, diagnostic trouble codes in relation to the ABS sensors only register with the engine management system once you've been running at more than 20 miles an hour for a bit. I'm going to take this for a run now, see if that's the case. If you don't see me again in the next few seconds, please just assume that it was all well and good. So, as always, if that's been useful to you, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks very much for watching. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.